Hi, welcome to Notes from a Drama Watcher, a podcast about East Asian dramas, mostly, but not exclusively, BL dramas. It's part review, part recap, so there will definitely be spoilers ahead. Let's go! Hi, this is Em. Welcome to episode 3. Today we're going to talk about a few new things that came out. We have Color Rush, which is not exactly new, but it's the movie version of the web series that's available on Viki. I'm not sure where else it's available. If you don't know Color Rush is the story of Yeonwoo, who is a high school student, and Yuhan, who, is another high school student in his school. Color Rush takes place in a world, I'm not sure, I guess it's supposed to be Earth, but it takes place in a world where there are people who have a certain genetic variation, monos and probes. Monos are people who only see the world in grayscale. They can't see color at all until they meet their probe. The probe is a person who themselves, I guess, doesn't have any kind of special ability, but it just, when the mono sees them, looks in their face, they're able to see color. In this world, there have been a lot of criminal cases with monos who become obsessed with their probes and winds up kidnapping them or hurting their family and loved ones just so they can get the probe all to themselves. Because remember, they've lived their whole life with no color. They're finally able to see color and they just become very obsessed with it, according to the news. And this also causes there to be discrimination against monos. People striking out at them because they think that the monos are going to become a stalker or killer or something like that. So Yeonwoo, who is the mono in the story, has grown up going through several schools already, because as soon as they find out he's a mono, he becomes the victim of bullying, and he winds up changing schools again. In the new school he goes to, he meets up with Yuhan, they come to find out his probe. He doesn't realize at first because Yuhan is wearing a mask since he's training to be an idol singer, and so he covers his face with a mask, or so that's what everyone thinks. So Yeonwoo meets his probe. The thing is, he has heard so many stories about how monos turn crazy that he's never really wanted to meet his probe. He's afraid he's going to become an obsessive stalker as well. So when he meets his probe, he really wants nothing to do with him at all. And it's just, that's what the show's about. It's him working through his fear of getting close to his probe. And it's funny because actually during the series, the person who's kind of more obsessed is really Yuhan, who is the probe. It's not Yeonwoo who's the obsessed one. So they're kind of flipped personalities in that way. It's a very interesting concept. I've never seen a concept like that in a series, and so I really enjoyed the Color Rush web series when it was first coming out on Viki, and was waiting eagerly for the next episodes to come out. But it is it's a South Korean web series. Those tend to be short. I think this was 8 episodes, and each one was probably about 15 minutes or so, 10 to 15 minutes or so. So they've put the movie version out, which is basically them just putting all of the episodes together. But if you decide to watch the movie, I encourage you to keep going through the credits. Make sure you watch the credits, because there we have a hint that there might possibly be a season 2, which I would love if there was a season 2, because one of the storylines in Color Rush was how Yeonwoo's mother, who is also a mono, disappears. They don't really know what happened to her. And in the TV series and the movie consequently, they never wrapped up that storyline. So season 2 hopefully would help us find out what happened there. And if they do a season 2, I really want them to expand the show. Literally expand the show. More time in each episode and more episodes. I don't know that they would do 16 or 20 episodes like a full-fledged K-drama usually is, but at least get us to 10 and make each episode 20 minutes or so we can get a more fully fleshed out story. The other new thing that came out yesterday is Nobleman Ryu's wedding. Now, so far it's only available on WeTV, and it doesn't seem like it's even in all the regions yet. I had to use a VPN to be able to watch the first 2 episodes. So this is a micro series. It's supposed to be 8 episodes, so it's going to end very quickly. Each episode, or so far at least in episodes 1 and 2, were about 10 minutes long. And Nobleman Ryu is the story of Choi Ki-won, whose sister is supposed to get married to Hosun. She disappears, runs away, and Choi Ki-won takes her place in getting married to Hosun. So that's what the first 2 episodes are about. As I said, they're 10 minutes long. So it was a pretty cute beginning to the series. A lot of like funny scenes going on and so forth. I'm definitely going to continue with it, but because it is a micro series, again, it's so rushed. I don't know why in South Korea they're not doing longer episodes when it comes to BL dramas. I don't know how big these companies are that are sponsoring the show or whatever, but when you look at the credits at the bottom, they do seem to have sponsors. So it's not that they have absolutely no money to make a series, so I'm not sure why they're so short. As a result of the episodes being so short, I felt like I was dropped in the middle of the story. It begins with them already married, quote unquote, and they do kind of explain that, the sister ran off, but you don't see her running off. You don't see the family aftermath of, everyone freaking out like, oh my goodness, where is she? It's just like he goes into an empty room and she's missing, and that's it. We get a 20-second scene about this. It's just way too rushed. And it's a shame because otherwise it was really cute. We get to see cute scenes between Hosun and Choi Ki-won, the two main leads. And another character who I think is Hosun's sister, they haven't come out and said directly, and Choi Ki-won just keeps calling her Agashi, which is Miss in Korean. But she seems to be very jealous of Hosun having, a wife. So she's just making life really difficult for Choi Ki-won, and Choi Ki-won is trying not to rock the boat because he doesn't want anyone knowing that his sister has disappeared and he's stepped into her place. Rounding out the first 2 episodes is Hosun's mom, who is really funny. She really wants them to get together, and it seems to be like getting into all sorts of trickery to try to get some grandbabies pretty soon. I think that's her goal, which obviously is not going to happen with Choi Ki-won. But so far off to a good start. Just if they had more time, they could slow the story down. But maybe as South Korean BL dramas, if they keep being at least somewhat successful, they'll get more money into production, and they'll be able to make longer shows, longer episodes, where we can really savor the story instead of just rushing through it. I mean, even in this, it felt a little choppy in a certain way. Especially in episode 2, I felt like we were just looking at a compilation of scenes. There was no kind of transition in certain spots. One minute they're eating, the next minute she's washing clothes, the next minute Choi Ki-won, he's doing something else. It just made it a little bit choppy. If we had just had more time, then it would have been improved. So, I don't know, we'll see what happens in the next few episodes. Our third male lead, I guess, did not make an appearance in the first 2 episodes. Looks like he'll be coming in episode 3, and we'll get the love triangle going and see where things go from there. I also had the chance to continue watching Second Chance the series. They're up to episode 3 now. It was pretty decent. I don't feel like anything really major happened. Well, that's not true. Some things did happen, but we got kind of a continuation of Chris still trying to figure himself out. Remember, everyone's trying to figure out what university they want to go to, what they want to study. He's still not sure about this. He keeps being described by people as someone who's good at everything, and maybe that's the problem. That's why it's so hard for him to figure out exactly what he wants to do. We get introduced to Near, or we were already introduced to Near, but we get to know a little bit more about him. We get to find out he's a gamer. He starts becoming close to another gamer that he has met online, and the other gamer expresses interest in him, but there's something about this other gamer that he doesn't know. So it looks like he's in for some big surprises in the future. Probably not a pleasant surprise in the sense that he will feel lied to, I'm sure. I'm not sure when they're going to resolve that. In this episode, he starts realizing something's up because the gamer seems to know a little too much about him, but he doesn't know who that person is yet. He just realizes something's up. And we get to see a little more with Paper and Tongfa. It's Tongfa's birthday, so they have a little get-together, a little gathering, all together as a group having dinner, and then Tongfa and Paper go back to Tongfa's place, with his mom. They have cake or whatever, and Paper, I think, I'm not sure if he was supposed to sleep over or was just staying late or whatever. They begin drinking, and as happens when you have alcohol and sometimes your inhibitions go away, they start kissing, and when they sort of come to their senses, they realize what they've done, and it just causes a lot of confusion, and Paper just basically runs off. Understandably so, he decides to kind of get out of there. And Tongfa breaks down and he starts having, they show a flashback to when his father passed away and he was in the hospital, and they find out, and he's there with his mom, but Paper's also there with him. So Paper has been there, through the rough times. And I'm not sure if him breaking down, maybe it was him being scared about losing his friendship with this very important person in his life. We don't get a chance to see them talk or try to figure anything out in this episode, because this is all happening towards the end of the episode. Also in this episode is the story of Jeno and Chris. It just continues with them, getting to know each other a little better. Jeno is softening a little, opening up a little to Chris, and they're getting a friendship going. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Again, I'm not sure what Jeno is ready for, but at least for now, he seems to be opening up to a friendship with Chris. Next up, we have Fighting Mr. Second, episodes 4 through 6. So with episode 6, our series comes to a close, or season 2 comes to a close. And there's a hint at the end there. It looks like there's a season 3. Doesn't surprise me at all because it's so popular. Episodes 4 through 6, Gaoshide and Shuyi are just getting to know each other all over again, experiencing being in love without any more misunderstandings between them thus far. Gaoshide is trying to reach out as much as he can to Shuyi's dad because he knows how much Shuyi loves his dad, and he wants them not to be fighting over him, to have, a good relationship. Shuyi finds out a little more about what happened while Gaoshide was in America, even though he's kind of finding out from someone else because he does not ask Gaoshide directly. I think he's basically, trying to show that he trusts him and realizes that whatever misunderstandings were between them were making him overly suspicious. Although, honestly, if I went somewhere and I saw the other person with a baby and apparently someone of their own age and they look like a happy family, I'd be a little bit like, huh? But I also would probably ask. He didn't ask. So some of the misunderstandings were just lack of communication, as happens so many times. This is not something new to Dramaland. Also, there's another storyline of corporate sabotage. Someone sabotages their computer systems, and there's the whole storyline of trying to figure out who did it and why, although they never really figure out why. And the person being suspected of that at first is the chief technology officer. So he is at the police station while they wait to figure out what happened, even though honestly Gaoshide and other people really don't think it was him anyway. They really suspect it was someone else. But even when it turns out that they find out he was innocent for sure, he refuses to leave the police station. So they send in backup, as Gaoshide says, which is Gaoshide's cousin, to go and get him from the police station, to get the chief technology officer from the police station. And the chief technology officer is refusing to leave, and Gaoshide's cousin, being how he is, just basically picks him up and carries him out of the police station, which is really funny to me because he's basically kidnapping him from the police station, and the police seem to be okay with this. So, interesting. But I was actually wondering how they were going to do that because I saw it behind the scenes, and that was the scene. And before I even saw the episode, it was slightly different. He lost his shoe in the episode, in the part that they showed in the episode, and I don't really remember him losing his shoe in the behind the scenes thing. So I guess they filmed it a couple times, but the police don't seem to be at all bothered that this man is being carted away from the police station. But then they have the chance to talk to each other, the chief technology officer and Gaoshide's cousin, and to try to clear the air a little between them. And that's when he admits that he has affective disorder. He tells the chief technology officer, I know you have all these feelings for me. I don't know that I can return those feelings because I have this affective disorder. And of course the CTO is, upset to hear this. What can he really do about it except try to understand? He has his own disorders. It was episode 4, I believe, where Gaoshide finds out from his cousin that the chief technology officer has. He's got a few conditions. One of them is Asperger's, but he's got some other conditions as well. He's contending with that, and then also contending with finding out the person that he has loved and longed for all these 12 years may not be able to return his feelings, or if he is, may not be able to show it. He's just got to figure out where he fits into that, where he can fit into his life while understanding this condition, as well as his own conditions. So that's probably a storyline that's going to be played out in season 3, I'm assuming, and a little more of Gashide and Shui's romance, I guess, will play out in season 3. Honestly, I feel like their story is kind of complete. They have to have some kind of story for season 3, because at least for me, as much as I like the other characters, I don't know that I would want to watch a season about the other characters. Gashide and Shuyi really carry the show for me, even though usually I'm actually one of those people that winds up liking secondary characters more than the main characters. In this case, the main characterizations are so strong that I'm just really invested in these main characters, and I don't want the focus to be on someone else for season 3. But we'll see what they do. It'll be interesting. There apparently is going to be a wedding in season 3, and Bingwei and I can never remember the other friend's name, but they're the ones who get engaged at the end. And the other friend is like he has this whole analogy about carrot and the stick with a donkey, leading a donkey, and how you get the donkey to move, and by showing the carrot in front of them or using the stick and whatever. I actually want some conflict in season 3 between him and Bingwei, because I think he sort of takes Bingwei for granted. So I'd be interested to see if they've got some conflict going in season 3. They're sort of interesting to me because they don't actually do much with that couple in season 2. They get together a little bit in season 1. Season 2, they're just together. That's all you know. You don't really know anything else about their storyline. So for season 3, I would love for them to get a little bit more into that. The chief technology officer and the cousin, that storyline really didn't speak that much to me, although I know a lot of people did find that interesting. I'm not sure what they can do with that in season 3, but maybe they'll have an interesting storyline with that. We'll see. I'm eagerly awaiting season 3. I don't know when it's supposed to come out, but I'll be waiting for it when it does. I'll definitely try to watch it. And the last show we're going to talk about today, my favorite, Word of Honor, episodes 11 through 16. Zushi and One Cushing spent most of the last episodes separated from each other because they had that big argument. And so in episode 11, Chunling is kidnapped, and separately, Zushi and One Cushing go to find him. Each doesn't know that the other one is looking for him. Zushi finds him first and gets into a battle with these two women and fights as much as he can, but again, of course, his condition is not great. So he gets pretty beat up. Who should appear but One Cushing? It does not matter what argument they had, how mad they are at each other. One Cushing sees Zushi in trouble, and he is ready to kick butt. Because that is his soulmate. So they managed to get away. Mainly it's Zushi being like, we should escape, because One Cushing's first instinct is to go after the people who hurt his Zushi and get his revenge. One of my favorite scenes is actually in this particular episode. It's towards the end of the episode when they're all sitting around, talking about what happened. Chunling realizes that there's tension between Zushi and One Cushing and realizes that they've had an argument. So he's trying to play peacemaker to get them to make up with each other. Zushi is just there, like, kind of giving the silent treatment. And One Cushing, or Simon Gong, I should say, the actor, he's got such puppy eyes looking at Zushi. The first thing that happens is he asks to drink he asks Zushi if he has some wine. And Zushi does not respond to him and does not pass the wine over at first. He actually drinks from the wine bottle. And you can see One Cushing is sitting there so hurt, thinking like, oh, he's not going to share his wine with me. But then he does. He passes it over to Chunling and is like, here, give him some wine. But he doesn't pass it directly. Chunling has to pass it. And so that's actually when Chunling realizes, like, oh, there's an argument going on here. But the funny thing with Chunling trying to get them to get back together is that he's telling One Cushing, you need to make up to him. You need to comfort him. As if he knows that it's One Cushing that has started the argument. And I find it funny that he assumes that it must be One Cushing's fault. And actually, even through that whole scene where Chunling's trying to get them to make up, One Cushing doesn't say a word. He's just letting Chunling do the work for him while he's giving Zushi the puppy eyes. But it works. Zushi does forgive him. I don't think at this point they can stay mad for long. Only up to like episode 22. I don't know afterwards what happens, but up until this point, these two cannot stay mad at each other. Eventually, they begin all talking to each other, Chunling, Wang Kushing, and Zushi. And this whole time, Chunling wants Zushi to be his master. He really doesn't want to be part of the Yu Yang sect with his uncle and all those people. He's not interested in that. He doesn't really trust them. He trusts his Zushi, and he's trusted him from the beginning, and his uncle Wen. And so he wants Zushi to be his master. He wants to be his disciple. Finally, Zushi says yes, but he's telling him, if I'm going to be your master, you have to know who I really am. And he tells him about his background. He tells him his true name so that Chunling can make an informed decision about whether or not he really wants to be his disciple. And he obviously chooses yes. He still wants it. He trusts him completely. And Zushi accepts him as his disciple, which means he's actually now, Zushi is the head of his clan. He's the only one left of his clan, which means Chunling is going to be his new disciple, his new heir, which Chunling doesn't know this, but of course Zushi doesn't have long, right? So he's basically training someone to take over his clan. And, he kind of says there that he thought he was just going to spend the rest of his life kind of wandering, but it looks like God had other plans for him. So between episode 11 and 12, this is where we know that Chunling has had the piece of the glazed armor the whole time on his person, literally inside of his wound. Zushi advises him to turn over the glazed armor. It's doing him no good. It does no one any good unless they're trying to seek power, which Chunling is not trying to seek power. So Zushi advises him to give it away to his uncle. Let them have it so that he can separate from the Yu Yang sect, go his own way, being Zuzushi's disciple. So that's what he does. He goes back to the Yu Yang sect, basically just long enough to turn over the piece of glazed armor. He's going to stay there for the Heroes Conference, which is where all these different martial arts families are coming together for the Heroes Conference. And then the plan after that is for him, Zushi, and Lao Wen to just go on their way. Lao Wen being Wang Kushing. So while Chunling is with the Yu Yang sect, Wang Kushing and Zushi are just kind of having a free day. They're just kind of hanging around drinking. They decide to go stir up some trouble, basically. And one of the things I didn't notice, but I was reading comments on the video that a few other people picked up on, and then I realized while Zushi and Wang Kushing are hanging out, Wang Kushing says something to Zushi, and he doesn't catch it. He doesn't hear him. This is where we begin to see that his senses are being affected. Remember, he has the 7 nails in him, and the nails are slowly working to take away his senses. At some point, he will lose his martial arts abilities completely, right? So this is where we see kind of the beginning of it. We see when he's fighting, he gets fatigued, and he gets ill that way. But he's not fighting. He's just sitting there having wine with Wang Kushing, and his senses are being affected. So this is where we see he's starting to deteriorate. Wang Kushing doesn't know yet what's going on, so he doesn't even realize. But, we, the audience, realize. Got another one of my favorite scenes thus far actually takes place in this episode, a little towards the end, where we see a little bit of Wang Kushing's green-eyed monster coming out, and I swear Zushi kind of goads him into it because he just has this sly look on his face as if he knows what Wang Kushing's reaction is going to be in this particular scene. I love it. I love when the jealousy aspect comes out of Wang Kushing, and Zushi's just there looking at him like, But this time, I think he deliberately did that. So earlier, Wang Kushing and Zushi had met Ye Bai, who is an elder. He's practically immortal, who has obviously years of experience, and who offers to help heal people. Wang Kushing wants him to try to heal Zushi. He doesn't know yet about Zuzushi's full condition, but he knows obviously Zuzushi's ill. He keeps having problems after fighting. He wants Ye Bai to heal him, and Ye Bai is like, I can't heal him. He's dying. And Wang Kushing doesn't know what's going on. That was in an earlier episode. They disappear. But in episode 13, Ye Bai suddenly shows up at Wang Kushing's room saying he knows of a way to heal him. Now, Wang Kushing and Zushi had another disagreement. And so they weren't together in this moment when Ye Bai shows up. So it's just him and Zushi. But he wants Zushi to show him the problem, to show him the nails. And he tries to actually take Zozushi's shirt off. And of course he and Zozushi are fighting. And who should appear but one Cushing, who of course is grabbing Zozushi away, like, and he says, what are you doing with my Asha, his Zozushi? So, like I said before, it doesn't matter what argument they've had. If anyone tries to touch his Zozushi, he is appearing out of nowhere trying to kick butt. But anyway, due to this is where the truth comes out about the fact that Zozushi really is dying. One Cushing just loses it. Doesn't know how to deal. The only way Yebai can think of to heal Zozushi would not increase his life forever. It would let him live another 10 years, I believe it was, but he would lose his martial arts abilities. This is something Zozushi is not willing to do. Even if his life is short, he wants to live as full a life as possible, rather than live a longer life but not feel a full life. One Cushing obviously, can understand this on the one hand, but on the other hand, he just met his soulmate. He's waited his whole life just for a friend. And this is not just a friend, it's his soulmate, and he's going to lose him so quickly after just meeting him. And there's a sad scene of One Cushing just sitting there crying in the rain by himself. I read that scene was really hard for Simon Gong to film. He got very into character in that particular scene and had trouble getting out of the scene. Was very emotional afterwards. And the director, I think, either sent him home or they had to take a break for a little bit because he just wouldn't stop crying. He couldn't get out of the scene. I can imagine it. I've never acted in anything. I don't know how it is to be an actor, but I've heard that a lot of people, if there's a sad scene, they imagine something very sad happening to someone in their family or something, and that's what helps them to cry and really get into character. So I can only imagine everything he had to put into this particular scene and that he would have such trouble getting out of it. Just as an aside, I had mentioned in a previous episode about the Thai drama Tale of a Thousand Stars. One of the things that I found amazing about that, speaking of emotion, one of the things I found amazing about that show is the person who plays Tien, Mix is the actor's name, is a rookie actor. And that's a very heavy, emotionally heavy role. Many scenes of crying, of feeling guilt and trying to emote and express that. And I actually saw a lot of behind the scenes for that, where you could see several times Mix is just overcome and he just has to walk off. There's a behind the scenes where the director walks with him and he's got his arm around him, because it's really tough to do those kind of scenes, and that show has a lot of those scenes. And that's a rookie actor. Simon Gong's not a rookie. He hasn't been in 50 million things, but he's been in a number of things. So even as a more experienced actor, he's having trouble getting out of this scene, this role that he's so completely immersed himself in. Episodes 15 and 16 is, the Hero Conference is taking place where all the martial arts families are together, and without getting too much into detail, things go all to HE double hockey sticks. And when Cushing and Zozushi winds up having to rescue Chunling again and get him out of there, because it is complete and total chaos. Once they've escaped, who should appear but Yebai, the one who they had hoped would be able to cure Zozushi but really wasn't able to. Let me tell you, Yebai and One Cushing, those two do not get along. It's actually pretty hilarious, these two. They could have their own comedy routine. The way they do not get along and are always arguing, and poor Zozushi is there in the middle of the mess. There's the scene in the cave when they've all met up and then Yebai appears. I think I repeated that scene, I'm not even joking, like 10 times, because I found it so funny the way One Cushing reacts to Yebai. Yebai even says a disparaging remark about Chunling, who he's met for the first time. And One Cushing's like, how dare you speak about my child like that, kind of thing. And, he's looking at him like, your child? What do you mean? I've seen a lot of people online describing it as, two dads, their son, and the ornery old grandpa, Yebai, who is immortal. I think he's like 100 years old or something. I think that's true. It sounds accurate. When Cushing fighting with grandpa and Zozushi, the long-suffering spouse, trying to get them not to fight each other. And Chunling is just standing around like, what is wrong with the adults in my life? So that's it for Word of Honor, the episodes we're looking at today, 11 through 16. Another great set of episodes. What I find so interesting about this show is you've got these really sad moments. One Cushing discovering that Zozushi has said before, I'm dying, but he never, I guess, thought he was serious. But now that it's been confirmed by Yi and he sees the injuries, he realizes it's true. He's losing his soulmate. And then, like, a little bit afterwards, they're giving you these comedic moments, and it doesn't seem out of place. It's just part of the show. It's part of life, I guess. We've got sad moments, happy moments. The wonderful thing I think about this show is to see this family find each other. They are a family. One Cushing, Zozuchi, Chunling, Ashang, even though she's not with them right now at the moment, whenever she appears, fits right in. Sao Wei Ning, who you can tell really likes Ashang, and he's going to wind up being part of the family too, or wants to be part of the family too. And now you've got the ornery grandpa, Yi, showing up. So, the family is complete now. So I'm really enjoying the show. And I know the next few episodes get even tougher in some ways. But we'll talk about that next time in our next episode. The next episode of Fish Upon the Sky is coming out, so I'll be doing a review and recap of that, as well as episodes 7 through 21 of Word of Honor. I'm trying to go 5 episodes at a time until I'll be catching up in my reviews around the time that the episodes are finishing airing on Yoku. And then we'll see where we go from there. I had hoped to watch Immortality is another Chinese BL drama that was supposed to come out, but now word is it might not come out, something's going on, or it has to go back to the censors. I'm not even sure. We shall see. But thank you so much for joining me for this review and recap of these shows. Stay safe, everyone.